Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lone Wolf Paranormal Podcast. My name is Mike Guerra, the Fallen Angel, and today I have a special guest. Today, I have a good friend of mine named Elisa Jung. She is here to share her experiences with the paranormal. Anyway, say hi, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
All right. So today we're going to start off just a little bit introduction of Elisa and how she got involved with the paranormal. So go ahead, Elisa, take it away. Just want to know, how did you get involved with the paranormal?
My whole life, I've seen things. My whole life, I've experienced certain situations. My earliest memory that I had was, I don't know, probably a little bit younger than a
One.
year old. And I remember being in my crib, and my mom was taking pictures of me, and my bedroom door is open, and I'm looking at my mom, dead at her, and all of a sudden I see something walked into the room. It's like a dark shadow that walked in the room, and I'm seeing it, and I'm looking at it, and then all of a sudden it morphs into an evil face, and I started crying. And I never did forget that. In my whole childhood life, I used to see things so clearly, like if I'm looking at you.
So this all happened when you said, what, a year old?
That's my earliest experience.
Experience. Okay, and what was your second experience, like the best experience I guess you had, or in your life that kind of freaked you out?
I'm trying to think. That's good. There's been so many. There's been so many. I'm trying to think here.
Oh yeah, I know. We all have. I had a lot of experiences too. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you could think of your best one, that'd be great. Share
Let's
with our viewers.
see. I actually trying to think of a good childhood memory that I had. Okay, there was a time that I had just woken up from I think it was a daytime nap, and my dad had woken me up, and he wanted to take me out to eat. And at the time, my parents were having a lot of marital issues, and so they were constantly fighting. Well, he ended up taking me out to Burger King. But while he woke me up, I see something behind him, and it just ended up being like these different little shadow figures or something behind him. And I remember seeing that, and I had to been maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, I know we had discussed a few paranormal experiences. I know when we've gone out a couple of times and
Mm-hmm.
we going to hang out. Uh, I know I had a few back in my time. When I was with my at that time I was with my ex girlfriend, and we were together for about 10 years. We actually had a baby together. So at that time when she was pregnant, I remember we stayed at her. I guess you can say my ex in law's house, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up just instantly woke up. I didn't have to use the bathroom or anything, and I remember waking up and something told me to look in the right, and I remember seeing this like dark shadow like staring at her while she was asleep. I don't know. She was having a bad dream. She was actually looked like she was sleeping peacefully, but there was something there that was just staring at her. I remember just looking at that shadow when I wasn't scared, but I know I looked at her and she looked at the shadow and it started moving away from her. And eventually it just kind of just just disappeared down the hallway, and that was kind of one of my good experiences I had at that moment. But is there anything else you have? Like, I know you said something about you're currently where you're working at. You had some, even though we can't give details of where it's located, but, if you can give me some information, and so you can share me some experiences there.
Well, there have been multiple different experiences over there. Of course, this is a nursing home, and of course, I will not say what it's called, due to HIPAA violations and privacy for those people who live there. But I will say that for the duration of the 2 years I've been there, or have been there, there have been like strange and random noises, like whistling from an unknown location. There have been dragging noises down the hallways. There have been things moving around that I've seen myself. There have been apparitions that I've seen, show up and disappear right in front of me and my coworker JC. And we've seen so many things, and we've experienced so many things together. I mean, honestly, it's been pretty crazy. There the most recent experience that I had was quite frightening, to say the least. I would probably say that this happened a couple months ago, And they over at this place, there are two lockdown units for those who have serious dementia issues and Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So we work overnight, and so that's where a lot of the crazy stuff happens. Is when you work overnight, you hear more, you see more things.
So so you talking about like witching hour? You talking about like 3 or 4 in the morning? Is there a specific time you have
Well,
the
in
experiences?
reality, a lot of people believe that the witching hour is 3 to 4 in the morning. In actuality, it starts at 9 p.m. and is all the way till 6 a.m.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty interesting. So things are pretty active, and it can honestly it happens all day long too. But there's so much hustle and bustle that goes on during the day. Nobody really realizes it, and nobody notices it. So the most that happens that people will really notice, like myself, is at nighttime. So, so nighttime. I probably say a couple months ago, there was an incident. Me and my coworker JC were working the men's unit, and they have the separate lockdown units for one for the men and one for the women. They have them completely separate. And so I was in a men's unit with her, and there had already been some strange noises, and there have been, like I said, strange noises for the longest time. Now, this particular incident, we had actually witnessed a door close by itself. Everyone was accounted for, and everyone was in their bed. It was kind of strange, but we kind of shrugged it off. We didn't really think anything of it. Um, we were sitting down at one of the tables, in between our rounds, after checking everybody and stuff like that. And we had some of these, small little cups that we let the residents use to take their medicines and everything like that. I had one. I set it right in front of me, and we had gone into a couple of the residents' rooms to, check on them, change them, make sure everything was okay, make sure that nothing was going on, nothing was wrong. So anyway, we had gotten done with that, and then we go back to that table and we sat down. She's talking to me and she's telling me about something that happened in her home life. And so as she's talking, I'm realizing that something's missing. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of strange. And then once I, really look, and I'm really trying to focus on what's going on, once I really look, I noticed that the cup that had sat right in front of me was gone. And so I had asked her, I said, hey, do you know where that cup is? And she said, what are you talking about? She's like, oh my God, you're right, it's missing. And so we started looking everywhere. We never found it. We looked in the rooms, we looked under the table, under the chairs, everywhere. We never found it.
So even to this day, it's still missing.
It's still missing.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's still missing. And in fact, that wasn't the only thing that happened. That was definitely not the only thing that happened, because as the night wore on, and we'll say that that was about 12 o'clock in the morning, so it was right around midnight. A couple hours later, we kept hearing, doors opening and closing, but we just ignored it because we're kind of used to the noise around this time. We had already been there for so long, so we just started ignoring those noises. Well, eventually it got really agitated, and I think it was because we were not giving, the attention,
Some
or it
attention
wasn't
to it,
getting
yeah.
the reaction that it wanted. So it just started to go after even more things. For instance, it came time about 2:30 in the morning. We go and check on our people again, and we make sure everything's okay. We go in each and every room together, and so she, when the resident's in bed, I'll help somebody and she'll help the other person across the room. So she had gotten done with her person and she had walked out. And I heard her talking to somebody in the hallway, and so I just, finished up with mine and, continued on. I went into the shower room. I didn't really know where she was at this point, but I went into the shower room and I threw away the trash and I washed my hands. When I came back out, she's, as it is, she's pretty, pale. But she was even more pale. Like she had just seen something. And she was like, Elisa. And I was like, what? Like, what's wrong? And she had told me that She had gone over to, let's say his name is Ted. She had gone into Ted's room and she had noticed that the light was on. And so she went to go turn it off. He is the only man in that room. Nobody else was in that room. So she went to go turn that light off, and as she's about to reach over and turn it off, it turns off by itself. There's a privacy curtain in that room that separates his side of the room with what would be another person's side of the room. She turns her head, and that curtain just starts moving by itself in a very swift motion, just really
Yeah.
fast.
I know you mentioned something also that caught my ear was that you heard a growl or something, right? Sometime at your work?
Yes, absolutely. While we were sitting at that table, it was shortly after. It was shortly after we realized that Cup was missing. It was around that time is when we hear like a faint whisper, and we couldn't understand what it said because it was so low. And then all of a sudden it was like a hiss, like a legitimate hiss, like just out of nowhere. And we turned our heads the exact same area that we heard it. And I was like, I heard it right there. And she was like, I heard it right there too. So it just got worse after that. Because after we saw that curtain move a couple hours later, that's when everything just started happening even more. Like, she's over there telling me about that. And then all of a sudden, like, the door closes right in front of us of that same room where the light had turned off and the curtain had moved. And then I turn my head and I see, there's already an open door to another resident's room, and I see in his room, and this man cannot get up by himself anymore, and he's really gone downhill. But he can't get down, he can't get up by himself anymore. He can't, move very much by himself. I mean, he's total assistance. Like, he needs a lot of help.
So you're saying that he's pretty much on his way out, or
pretty much, like, he's really declined.
Yeah.
Well, he now has a peg tube, and he has a little Velcro vest that helps protect it. That way he doesn't mess with it, because once they pull it out, they have to send him out to get that put back in. So, so they put like a little Velcro vest on it, to protect him from doing that. Well, I look in that room, and the sheets on the bed are on the floor. His pillow is on the floor. His Velcro vest that's on his chest and around his stomach is wide open, and he's just sitting here, like laying there like this with his hands clasped in the other, and you can tell that he's scared, like really scared, like he just witnessed something. And so I tell her, I'm like, JC, look in that room. And so she looks and she's like, oh my God, like she just looks in that room and she stops at the door. And so she walks in there, and right when she walks in that room, in the other room, the same one that I witnessed the door closing, and she saw the curtain close and open by itself, and the light turning off by itself. In that same room, that door had, like I said, had previously shut in front of us. Well, in that room, I can hear that privacy curtain just going crazy, going absolutely crazy, and I already know. Like, I already know that whatever is there is in there.
Gonna happen, right?
Yeah, something's gonna happen. And so by this time it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. So everything is just getting crazy. Everything is just getting even more intense. It's just one thing after another. When we had walked in that other room where that man was laying in the bed and all his stuff is on the floor, his dresser, his drawers in his dresser and everything like that, all of them were open when we walked in that room. So we were fixing him up. I closed those drawers. And as we're fixing him up, he can't hear anything, but he can still speak. And so he grabs our hands and he's like, look, they're coming in here. They're here now. They're coming in this room. They're taking stuff. And so me and my coworker look at each other. We're like, what? And we turn our heads, and all the drawers were open. All of those drawers were open.
Did he ever describe what he saw? Or what he meant by saying they're coming?
No. He just said that they're coming and they're taking stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
And around that same time, that's when we hear the curtain just going crazy again in the other room.
Yeah, they usually say when people are dying, they see things. I know when my mom passed away, she passed away 10 years of breast cancer. I know before she passed away, she had mentioned that she heard my grandma calling out to her. what's crazy is that she heard it. She wasn't asleep. It was actually like in broad daylight, like at night.
Yeah.
She heard her coming, but she said in Spanish, mija come, ven pa acá,
Mhm.
which is come,
Yeah,
but she
come
said
over
come
here.
home.
Um,
So I know my mom told me, I think 2 days before she died, she had a dream that it was here at my house where that she went to the backyard and she saw all my aunts and uncles, my grandma, my grandpa who passed away when I was like young. She saw them and they were there. It's like they're having. It was like almost like a get together kind of thing. Like they're trying to come in and she opened the back door and she went in and she went home. After that, 2 days later, she already passed away. So yeah, I do understand. I do feel that we're all connected in the spiritual realm, and I do believe we will probably see our loved ones again at some point. Like I said, I don't know too much about the afterlife, but so yeah, it's a very interesting subject. But is there anything else that you want to share with us? I mean, other than that, I mean, this was a good story. We're gonna have you more on the show, and also listeners, this is Elisa Jones. She's gonna be my narrator. So you're gonna be hearing her in and out. She's be coming in, share experiences. She'll probably be actually sharing some other people's experiences. They'll be sending us some stories. And if you want to go ahead and send us stories, please email me at mikegera2025@gmail.com. Send your greatest experiences, anything that you want to share with paranormal. This also goes to anyone around the world that's hearing me at this time, listening to our podcast. Um, like I said, I went ahead and promised you a new podcast. This is it. I also want to give a shout out real quick before we end this to San Antonio Dead Seekers. We just partnership with them. Me and Elisa will probably be going a couple of investigations with them, and we're going to share some experiences, probably record some EVPs, some video footage of the live investigation. I want to give a shout out to Junior. He's going to be my next podcast guest. Hopefully, we're going to be recording sometime this week. Also, want to give a shout out to Dom and Art for pushing me to do a podcast. They're really great people. Always motivating me. I want to give a shout out to this new film to Kenneth Drill. A new movie that came out in is called Laura's Fate. It's coming out very soon. We just shot the last filming actually this month. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming out. Give a shout out to all the actors out there: Stormy, Chris Montezuma, all the great actors that were participating in this film. It's going to be great. So be on the lookout for that. But once again, I want to give a good night to everybody. And Lisa, last things you want to say before we end the podcast?
thank you for listening, and hope to hear from you again soon. And thank you so much, Mike, for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. You can go ahead and like our page, novoparanormal.com. Go ahead and also check out San Antonio Dead Seekers webpage. If you have anything, request any paranormal activities at your house, you want to investigate, please go to their webpage. You can contact them, contact Junior, and then go ahead and go check y'all out and take care of that, whatever is bothering y'all. They're great people. But once again, I want to wish everybody a good night. We'll be live again sometime this week with the Dead Seekers, the owner of the Dead Seekers. And once again, you guys have a great night. And always remember, you're never alone.